Hey guys, Maple here. I've got something good for you guys today. So it's a one wide, tileable, fully automatic honey block farm with an on-off switch, and it requires only 5 glass bottles and 1 honey bottle for the sorter. But I'll get to that part in a minute. Kind of sound like a salesman. First I'll go through how it works, and then we'll get to the building part. I'll section up videos so that you guys can skip to that part if you want to. I will also give you a full material list inside of the video and in the video description. So I guess we can start from the middle here from the dispenser. Inside of the dispenser, when you firstly build the farm, you will actually have all of the 5 glass bottles. But when the first cycle, the first block is actually made, you will always have 4 glass bottles inside of this, and I'll get to that. So right above this dispenser, it's facing up, we have a bee nest or beehive, whatever you're using, and a comparator leading up from it. If you didn't know, a beehive or bee nest will produce a redstone signal of 5 when it's completely full. And as you can see, we currently have a redstone signal of 4. Now this is not from the actual hive, this is from this composter, which we filled with 4 hay bales. And also we have a comparator leading from it, and it has a redstone signal of 4. Now this will not change until this is completely full. And when this changes to redstone signal of 5, it will get picked up by the observer above, which will trigger this sticky piston to push this solid block right in front of this observer. This observer will then give a pulse through this block and back down into the dispenser, which will dispense a glass bottle. That glass bottle will be filled with honey and returned back into the dispenser. Now right under the dispenser is where our filter is. Inside of the filter, you will need to put 1 honey bottle and 38 filter items. And the reason that we put 38 is because only 1 honey bottle will be in this hopper at a time. Because of the items that are added here, by default we will have a redstone signal of 2 coming from this comparator, and when 1 additional honey bottle comes into this hopper, this will turn into redstone signal of 1, triggering this repeater, which will turn off this redstone torch. This redstone torch here is to lock this hopper right underneath the sorting system. Basically, it will always have 1 honey bottle inside of it. As you can see, it currently just got triggered, but yeah, this hopper will have 1 honey bottle inside of it basically at all times while this is going through the system. When this hopper gets unlocked, it will enable this honey bottle from here to go to the rest of the system, and it will also pull 1 honey bottle from this hopper right above it. When it goes down the line of hoppers, it goes into the crafter, and as you can see, we're currently missing 1 honey bottle to actually craft our honey block. Inside of the crafter, we have 5 slots which are currently disabled and 4 which are enabled. Because we disabled 5 of these and we have a comparator in front of it, it will currently only produce a redstone signal of 5. But when all of these slots are filled in, it will give a redstone signal of 9. Here we have basically the same system as above with the composter. The only difference is that within this composter we put 7 hay bales, which will produce a redstone signal of 8. So as I said, when this is completely full, it gives out a redstone signal of 9. It will update this redstone, triggering this observer. It gives out a pulse, triggering this sticky piston, which will pull this observer, which is currently facing down. The pulse will go upwards and momentarily power up the crafter, which will craft our item. Right in front of the crafter, we have multiple hoppers. 2 of them are facing here into the dropper, or should I say item elevator. And 1 is actually facing to one end of the farm where you will collect your honey blocks. Now how this works, if we open it up, when the crafter crafts an item, it spews out the item it crafted, as well as some of the items which are left in this case, which are our glass bottles. Because if you craft a honey block, you will be left with the honey block and the glass bottles which you initially put it in. Since the block gets shot out first, it will go into this hopper, and the glass bottles would actually get shot here, which goes into the rest of the line right to the dropper. Now the reason that we have this extra hopper, which is covered by this block, is because if we had it one block closer, it would actually get triggered by this observer, and it will open and close all of these trapdoors. And the reason that we have these trapdoors in the first place is to prevent the items from going inside another tile. So if you have like a line of 10 of them, we want to prevent the chance of any bottles or whatever shooting out into the next line, because that would break your farm basically. As I said, it goes into the dropper. This produces a redstone signal, which will trigger the sticky piston, and then these two observers will start looking at each other, which will also produce a pulse and basically a chain reaction going all the way up. All of these droppers will get triggered one at a time, and all of them are facing upwards except this last one. So the items go up here into this last one, which also gets triggered by an observer, and it shoots out all of the bottles here into this barrel, which gets sucked up by these hoppers and goes right back to the system. As you can see, we have one glass bottle left. So we'll probably, by the end of this part of the video, we'll actually see it in action when it's completely full, and there we go. There we go. As you can see, that's lit up. Okay. And here we have our 4 glass bottles back into the system again, and it just cycles the same way every time. The reason that we have this redstone lab here is purely visual. So if you have a line of these tiles, so that you have some kind of signal to know when a block has been crafted or which one has been triggered, whatever. It's purely visual. You can remove it. You don't have to have it necessarily. Here we, as I said, we collect all of our honey blocks, and on one end, I put it right next to the chest, but I guess you can have it on the other side of the farm, whatever. We just have a simple on-off switch, and it works as follows. So here we have a lever. It triggers this trapdoor to open and close, which updates this scaffolding. The update is registered by the observer above, which produces a redstone pulse going into this new block called a waxed copper bulb. A cool thing with this block is you can give it a pulse and it will keep a signal. So as you saw here, if I again trigger this, it got a pulse, but it kept the signal. If you put a comparator next to it, it will actually produce a redstone signal of 15, which is really, really useful. I can see using this a lot, especially maybe in some kind of farms where we also want to turn it on and off based on the light level. Gonna be really awesome. I digress, but whatever. Right under this block is where we have our fence gate, and this fence gate is currently open, meaning that the farm is currently turned on. So if you didn't know, you can put a fence gate right in front of the entrance of a bee nest or beehive. You know that the entrance is here because of this line, as you can see. Kind of looks like a mouth or something. But anyway, if the fence gate is open, that means that the bees can come out. So if you didn't know, bees can go inside a beehive or a bee nest from any side, but it can only come out of the entrance. So if you close the fence gate, they actually can't come out, and you turned off the farm. So that's it for the functionality part. And let's go into building it. Now to the building portion of this video. This is the full material list for building one tile, and the on-off switch, and the honey block collection area. I'll build a new tile right next to this one, just to show you how the tiling works and what you should look out for. And generally, I think it will be much easier for you guys to follow. After we finish building the new tile, I'm going to show you how to build the on-off switch right here. But firstly, I think we're going to start with the item elevator part of this build right here on the right side. So let's start with that. Firstly, I'm going to place a solid block and a sticky piston facing upwards, and facing towards the block, we're going to place one observer. Facing into that observer, we're going to add a comparator, and going upwards, we're going to add a dispenser right here. So let's try and do that. I'm going to climb on this block, and there we go. So the easiest way to build this part for me was to stand on the dispenser and then just add observers up to 3 at a time, and then go upwards with the droppers holding shift and just jumping, and then repeat the process basically. So add the observers and then the droppers going downwards, going upwards, and then for the last one you just want it to be facing towards you like this, okay? Because this one has to be facing towards the barrel. Okay, now let's add the barrel. There we go. One more thing that we need to do is, as you can see, these are all facing down, all of these observers. So we're going to do that exactly like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here on the top, this is optional, but you can add an extra solid block and then add a redstone lamp. This is just so that you have an indication when a given tile has actually activated and created a honey block. So that's going to be it for the item elevator for now. And we're going to take our hoppers and we're going to add 2 hoppers facing towards the dropper, and then 1 hopper facing towards the collection area. Above the last hopper, we're going to add a solid block and a glowstone. This glowstone is optional, but there is a chance that a mob could spawn on this, so that's the reason that I put it there. Now we're going to take our trapdoors, and I like to put solid blocks on one side and then add my trapdoors on them like this, and then push the trapdoors up, and we can remove the solid blocks below. Now we can get our crafter. Our crafter should be facing towards the hoppers, and then on top of it we can just add our trapdoors again. So there we go. This will ensure that all of the items end up where they need to be inside of this line. So now we can add our sticky piston. The sticky piston is basically 1 block below, or 2 blocks below, and 1 block behind this crafter. Behind the sticky piston, we can add a solid block, and well, we can add a couple of solid blocks, so 3 solid blocks. Remove this one, and we can just dig a hole here so that we need to put a observer that's facing upwards. So that's the reason for that. Let me just put back the piece of dirt. There we go. Okay, so remove this block, and that's the reason we didn't put an observer here yet, because it will get subtracted multiple times because we're going to update this. So this is something to look out for. It won't be that big of an issue if you build all of the tiles at once. However, if you're basically extending one existing tile like I am right now, then you're going to have to reset this observer. This one's going to update as well. You're going to see that, but yeah. Okay, so add a solid block to either side of the observer. Then we're going to add a comparator on both of the sides of the observer. And then we're going to add a piece of redstone right on top of this one. And now what you're going to see is that this one updated as well. We're not going to do anything right now regarding resetting this because this is going to update again when we add a composter here. So add 2 more solid blocks. So you make an L basically. And then behind it, behind this block, solid block, add a composter. Into that composter, we're going to add 7 hay bales. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Basically until it's completely filled. So as you can see, it updated again. Okay. And now what we can do is reset this one. To reset it, we're just going to go back here. This block, so 1 block after the sticky piston, facing upwards, downwards, we're going to add our observer and do the same on the other side. So right next to it, facing downwards, we add another one. And here, right below the crafter, we can add another solid block. And that's how it should look for now. Okay, here where we added the composter, we can add 2 more solid blocks right above it. 1 solid block to the left of it, and 1 solid block also to the left of it, but 1 block below. Then we can add 1 more solid block on the right side of this big L basically. Add a comparator and 3 redstone dust. It's going to be 1, 2, 3. There we go. And right under this comparator, we can add a redstone torch. This redstone torch is going to be the one that's going to control whether this hopper is locked or not. Okay. And on top of this composter, we need to add a repeater. Now be careful, since this one is completely full, we need to press shift when placing this repeater, because you're going to empty out the composter and you're going to have to fill it up again. Okay, so let's hold shift and place down the repeater. There we go. That's great. Now we need to create this line of hoppers that needs to go into the crafter. So 2 hoppers facing downwards, and then 2 more hoppers facing into the last one that we put. That's good. Now let's add 1 hopper facing directly into our comparator. This is going to be the one that's basically going to filter the items out for us. So to set this up, we're going to need 38 filter items. So we're going to need 35 in this, and then 1 in each other slot. And then here in the first slot, add your honey bottle, and this is going to be the item that is going to get filtered out. On top of this, last hopper that we added, we need a dispenser. So let's add that. It needs to be facing upwards. There we go. And then, so that we can connect these two, we can add our hoppers, and it's just a straight line of hoppers that lead from the barrel directly into our dispenser. So let's do that. And there we go. And now momentarily, I'm going to freeze the game. So tick freeze if you're in creative mode. I'm just going to do this because I'm going to need to add the bees, and I don't want these ones to escape, or the ones that I'm going to add to escape. What you want to do in survival is when you're picking up your bee nest or beehive, just ensure that you have 3 of them inside of it, just so that you don't have to breed them inside this farm. It will just make it easier during the build. One of my suggestions would actually be that, no pun intended, is to build this during the night, or actually you can build the whole thing and then just add the nests last during the night. Okay, so here I'm going to break this glass. Here I'm going to add my beehive. There we go. Now on top of it, I'm going to add, let's just add some kind of temporary block. 1, 2, and then an upwards facing observer. There we go. We can break this solid block again. Now in front of it, in front of the beehive, I'm going to add a spruce fence, like so. You can use any fence gate you want. Right next to this observer, I'm going to add a solid block. And then to the left, this is also very important. I'm going to add glass. It doesn't necessarily have to be glass, but you have to put it on the left side of the beehive or bee nest, right next to the fence gate, and right next to this solid block, just to prevent any bottles that are shooting out of this to go outside of the farm, or anywhere else for that matter, if we want it to go back into the dispenser directly. What we can do now is open up this fence gate. We can add our bees. So let's add our bees. It's going to be 1, 2, 3 bees. And then right in front, we're going to add our flowering azalea leaves. Here at the top, since this is our contraption for the on-off switch, we need 1 more redstone dust, just so that it can trigger the on-off functionality of this fence gate. Here, right behind it, behind the place where we have our bees, we're going to add 3 solid blocks. We're going to add a comparator on each side. This is basically the same principle as the thing that we did below. The only different thing that's going to be here is, well, the amount of hay that we're going to put into the comparator, but also where the observer will be. Here the observer is observing from the top and not the bottom. Right behind here we can also, this is optional, but we can add a glowstone. Right on top of it, we're going to add our composter. And here we can add our piece of redstone. So we're going to add our hay into the composter. In this case, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Oh, I forgot to unfreeze my game. So tick on freeze like this. There we go. We can also put this back. Okay. Now place the observer facing downwards. On top of it, place a sticky piston facing towards this observer. And place another solid block right on top of the sticky piston. So that's basically it. One more thing that we need to do, of course, is fill this up with 5 glass bottles. Okay, so everything seems to be in place. Let me just turn on the farm. Both of the fence gates should be open, as I see right now. Yep, they are. And that's basically it on how you can build a single tile. One thing I wanted to show here. So as I said, if you just built this tile, you would have only 1 hopper. You would need to add an additional hopper in front of it, facing towards a chest, a single chest, double chest, whatever. The on-off switch is pretty easy to build. So you would need a solid block, which is 1 block away from the chest. Right behind it, we have 1 trapdoor, and in front of it, we just have a lever. So what happens is, as we flick the lever, it opens and closes the trapdoor. We have this scaffolding, which is placed here on this block, it goes then to this trapdoor, which goes upwards towards an observer facing down. It registers the update that happens when you open and close the trapdoor, and it goes into this new block called a vexed copper bulb. A cool thing with this block, which I explained before the actual build, is it can basically hold a signal and turn that single pulse into basically an on-off switch. You can do really cool things with this. You can place a button on it, which would normally just give out a redstone pulse. If you put a button on it, you can use it in the same way as a lever basically functions. The only thing you need to do to get a redstone signal is to place a comparator next to that block, and as you can see, it releases a redstone signal of 15. And that's basically it for the build. You can use this to make as many tiles as you wish. There's no real limit. What I found is basically 10 tiles is pretty much enough for anyone within their single player world. One thing to maybe improve when it comes to the productivity of this farm is to build it, for example, in the Nether, where you don't have rain or a day and night cycle. But yeah, that's basically it. So if you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Also, if you have any ideas on how to improve this build or would like to share your thoughts, be sure to leave a comment as well. Yeah, see ya.